Self-help. Samuel Smiles' timeless guide to industry, perseverance, and the power of character. 10 minutes every morning series, book 7. What if the real secret to success has nothing to do with talent and everything to do with daily habits? In 1851, the same year Darwin published On the Origins of Species, a Scottish physician named Vagus Nerve Reset, 5-minute daily practices to calm your nervous system, reduce anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. Calm your nervous system without forcing relaxation, fixing yourself, or following complicated routines. You don't need to understand anatomy, you don't need to relive the past, you don't need perfect consistency, you just need clear signals. How to build an unbreakable ego. Stop seeking approval, master your mind, and become untouchable. You are not insecure, you are underbuilt. Unlock your health potential, the ultimate guide for identifying and resolving root causes at the core of your chronic illness. This is not another generic wellness book, it's a clear, actionable, research-aligned guide that gives you the tools and understanding to finally take control of your health, without confusion. Filling the love picture, consecrated time, intentional words. What happens when the picture of love in a... By the way, I love whatever is going on with the hands here, this third one that is, I'm not sure where it's coming from. What happens when the picture of love in a relationship runs dry? Every relationship depends on what is being put into it. Never react again. Not overreact, not react too much, just don't react. Never react again. How to never get angry or be bothered by anyone, no matter what. If you are ready to stop being easily triggered and start living calm, confident, and unbothered no matter what, ready, set, go! ! Dash, reclaim your attention in 7 days! ! Colon, a practical guide to breaking digital habits and reclaiming your focus. Dash, book 5. Parentheses open, ready, set, go! ! Serious, dash, your simple guide to anything, parentheses close. The yes that collapsed the universe, the story of redemption told by Mary, the mother of Jesus. Who this book is for? For those who love the Bible, for those who doubt, for those who suffer, for those who are mothers, for those who have lost a child, for those fleeing something, for those who say yes, for those who have never read the Bible. Chapter 8 should be read in every Holy Week, says Father Antonio. It tears the soul. Self-care gifts for moms. The Burnout Recovery book every overwhelmed mother needs. The ultimate stress relief and wellness guide for women. Perfect for Mother's Day, new mom. Are you an overwhelmed mom secretly whispering, I can't keep doing this? This mom burnout book is the compassionate lifeline every exhausted mother needs. Whether you're searching for the best self-help books for mom mental health book, anxiety relief book for mothers, parenting stress books, women's wellness books 2026, motherhood and identity book, working mom stress relief book, mindset books for moms 2026, or motherhood survival guidebook. This is the one that actually works. Oh, hi there. Don't worry, you're not interrupting. I've just finished another chapter of how to be your
powerful adjective,
self, and
inspiring verb,
your life by
generic human name,
PhD, MD, GPT. I can't wait to get to chapter 7. I will finally learn the secret to... Anyway, as the title and the thumbnail probably suggest, I'm going to be talking about AI books, but honestly it will be a small part of the video and more of a jumping on point to a larger conversation about media and how it is shaped by technology and the world in general. Before we begin,
I do picia dzik.
Без цукру бы ограничил. Okay, but for real, before we begin, a quick note. I am doing something a little bit different today, and instead of a structured, complex narrative, this video is going to be more of an extended rant with occasional sources. I usually try to keep a balance between analysis and opinion, and I lean more towards the analysis side. This time I'm primarily doing an opinion piece because the opinions have been rotating in my head for a couple of weeks now like a 3D image of a cow, and I wanted to stop. Therefore, I am especially open to criticism, feedback, discussion, or just any comments. Genuinely, I want to talk about this because I feel like I'm losing my mind. And this is not an engagement prompt, like, I have 500 followers, I'm not expecting an avalanche of attention. I just want to start a few back and forths in the comments to further figure out my views on this whole topic. Right, so this script started as a comment I left on a Bookleo video called The Bizarre Industry Behind Cringe Vertical Shows on TikTok that she released in early February of this year. This video is fantastic, by the way, and I think you will get more out of my rant if you go and watch it first, so please feel free to pause and do that. But assuming you will not, in a nutshell, it is a piece about, well, vertical dramas on social media apps. Why they exist, how they are made, and who profits the most from making them. The extremely brief summary is that these shows are produced by media companies who take online fiction, usually posted on websites they also own, and then pay crews to adapt them into scripts, film the shows, and put them on dedicated apps. Surprisingly, everyone involved in this process is an actual human being who gets paid for their work. Whether they are paid enough for it is questionable, but unfortunately the opportunities to earn an income from creative work are generally not that great and are disappearing as we speak. All things considered, this model is not the shittiest way of making content, and yeah, I've chosen that word on purpose. I am using a super advanced essay technique called getting to my actual point. Eventually. Anyway, I think it's an interesting kind of Rorschach test to watch that original video and notice what irks you the most about the production process described. I think for Leonie it was the instrumentalization of it all. Obviously someone who loves reading and loves talking about books will be disturbed or even disgusted by how procedural the process of creating these stories is.
Inkit on their website really markets themselves as data-driven, but also helping authors to write better and reach a bigger audience. But there are so many things in their UI design that are clearly there to nudge authors towards doing what they want, basically. They have an app that shows you how consistent your writing is, encouraging you to keep writing on a streak. I try to see what happens if you try to write something for them, and if you write in their writing machine, the word count turns red when it's not the optimal reader engagement word count of 1900 to 2500 words per chapter, and it turns normal again when it is. It all feels very manipulative to me. Yes, of course, it's there to help the authors find a bigger audience, I guess, but it's clearly also because, this company wants you to write stories that will make them money. It's not really about encouraging authors to write for self-expression or for art. The goal is to make these stories as optimized as possible. Your writing is their money-making machine.
Personally, that part did not actually disturb me that much, and I think I know why. Sure, as someone who writes fiction for the sake of writing fiction, as tumultuous as my relationship with writing can be, it does sound like a nightmare. Many fiction writers are incredibly fast and prolific. I've done NaNoWriMo a couple times, so I know I can get this many words out when I'm passionate enough. Many fanfiction writers do even more, often while working or studying full-time, and for some self-pub writers, publishing multiple novels a year is the norm. The strict rules that these apps impose, that's another level of icky. A certain amount of rule following is normal in creativity, for the most part being a conventionally good Competent writer is about learning and implementing a bunch of rules and techniques that are preferred by the majority of readers. That's why ChatGPT uses some of these patterns, by the way, like the 3 example sequence, the long dash, etc., etc. Like a diligent student, it picked them up from human writers because competent writing follows these patterns. And sure, many writers apply these techniques to drive engagement, keeping chapters to a regular length, having a consistent upload schedule, ending chapters on cliffhangers, and so forth. In isolation, these are normal marketing practices. But there is something, I don't know, almost dirty or dishonest or manipulative even about essentially being forced to use them. There's always a tension between rule following and individuality in writing, as well as between writing for yourself and seeking engagement. It's a subtle line, it's hard to quantify. Everyone has a different threshold for when self-promotion becomes annoying or when asking for comments on fanfics becomes obnoxious. Being told explicitly by the website that you must follow these rules if you want to get paid, it is definitely gross. It's like a definitive loud proclamation. You're not doing this for fun, you're doing it for clicks and for money. And for most creatives, the moment you switch to doing it purely for clicks and money is the moment that stops being your art and starts being a product. It becomes content. This is what I mean by content-fication. I know the word content itself is neutral, it just means the information contained in some environment, but like many words, it is colored by the ways in which it is used and by people who use it. It is technically correct to call a burger a product, but the connotations are not great, especially when we're talking about food that human beings eat.
I love this product. It is so good.
Content is a dirty word for me because it is corpo speak. It's like we are not discussing a piece of art anymore, but an item in a warehouse. It has a consumerist, utilitarian connotation. It makes me think that it is created for the sole purpose of being sold, or, another corpo word, consumed. The process of creation is irrelevant, the only thing of importance is the finished product. This is why I disagree with the word slop being used to describe something naively sincere or created without sophisticated skill. A fanfiction written by a 12-year-old that has 3 grammatical errors per sentence is not slop. Nothing made from genuine passion is slop, no matter how quote-unquote bad it is. I may not enjoy it as a reader, but someone enjoyed writing it and sharing it for free, so why the hell would I judge it? And even if they are selling it, such as a self-published book, I'm not going to demand a refund if it turns out that the text is not to my standard or to my liking. It's not a commissioned work, and no one is ever guaranteed to enjoy every work of art they pay for. As a reader, I am willing to take the risks, because you never know where you will discover your new favorite thing. So when I'm talking about content, derogatory, or slop, I'm specifically talking about something created for the sake of external reward only. Something that no one would make if they weren't compensated for it. Obviously, external rewards are part of the motivation. A ton of effort goes into, for example, putting your thoughts into words and writing the actual story down instead of just daydreaming about it on the bus. It is absolutely reasonable to expect some amount of engagement, attention, and yes, in many cases, financial reward as well. Writing is communication, and it is also a skill that takes years to develop. And until we're all living in fully automated gay space communism, writers need money to live. However, if money or status or attention is the only goal, and you absolutely do not care for any part of the process of creating the thing, in my opinion, that's slop. No matter who made it, you or ChatGPT or an overworked and underpaid freelancer you found online. By the way, this whole conversation is not about AI or what counts as art or whether it is ethical to use LLMs for any part of the creative process. It's an incredibly complicated question that this video has no space for. I do think there is a place for machine learning in creativity, but it's a nuanced topic and different people will have different lines and preferences. I've seen people code and train their own models on their art to experiment with techniques, and I think that's pretty cool. I also think it is wrong for big AI companies to train models on stolen material. Even though I don't believe in copyright, it feels similar to people reposting fan art online and claiming it as their own. It's just a shitty, dishonest thing to do, not to mention every other issue with the technology, like its impact on the environment, people's mental health, the world economy, etc., etc. LLMs and machine learning have legitimate applications, but maybe it shouldn't have left academia, and I hope big tech gets broken apart and regulated into oblivion. Anyway, this content-fication process is everywhere now, and it is happening to every single thing you can imagine.
Seen from the side, the protected position of the eyeball within its funnel-shaped eye socket is shown still more clearly.
It might be bizarre to see the rules for maximizing engagement on a serialized fiction website, but YouTube has been encouraging it for years. YouTube Studio tracks every possible metric and grades you on those metrics. It is basically a given that if you want to make money off of your videos, you need to pay attention to those metrics and follow rules that maximize engagement. The thumbnails and video titles that change every time you open the app, those are A/B tests, a basic marketing strategy. And it's not just like Mr. Beast or whatever who use these strategies, it's also big video essays who, I hope, very much treat their videos as works of art. I mean, literary writers and art house directors and fucking scientists are all advised to learn how to market. Many now have landing pages and social medias and some sort of brand strategy. It is utterly ubiquitous these days. Hell, you're expected to have a personal brand and a LinkedIn presence when applying to any position at this point. You might get asked to film a TikTok for a McDonald's job.
I love this product.
Without turning this into another capitalism bad tangent, really this is a result not specifically of the economic system itself, but more generally of the drive to make everything useful. I've recently read this Aeon essay about instrumentalization, or the trend of describing everything with its utilitarian value in mind. The mainstream English-speaking culture increasingly dismisses everything that doesn't have clear benefits for either the economy or maybe for human health. Like art exhibitions advertising themselves as beneficial to mental health, or endless TED Talks about oxytocin-releasing effects of hugs. Instrumentalization has the illusion of efficiency because it promotes the direct pursuit of practical things that we all want. But often this turns out to be counterproductive. More often than not, you will fail to get the claimed benefits of an activity if getting them becomes your primary motivation. What looks like shortcuts turn out to be short circuits, undermining what they seek to achieve. Everything exists for a purpose now. You're taking foreign language classes to enrich your CV, and converting your hobbies into side hustles and practicing mindfulness to improve your efficiency in the office.
Hey, I just picked up a new hobby. Oh man, that is so cool. But how do you plan to monetize it? What are you talking about? Well, I'm just asking how you're gonna use it to make money. I'm not sure I follow. Maybe I'm asking the question wrong here. How do you as a man with a tiny wiener plan to maximize shareholder value with your hobby?
And sure, it is good to study the physical effects of art and friendship and gratitude journals because we live inside of a system that won't be dismantled overnight. I think it's good that doctors in the UK can now prescribe social gatherings or nature walks. We do need studies that show benefits of affirming trans people's gender, because that's how you enforce non-discrimination policies. But these are political or administrative strategies. We don't need to carry them into every aspect of modern life. And once we acknowledge that content-fication is just a small part of this massive trend, is it really surprising it happens to books too? Why wouldn't it happen to books? I mean, reading is not this sophisticated, elevated experience that is somehow immune to commodification. Reading is a unique kind of information processing, but listening to audiobooks actually creates similar results in the brain. Also, being on social media or playing video games can involve a lot of reading too. You can engage in complex philosophical arguments in Disco Elysium, or check out werewolf smut from the library, and both are perfectly legitimate ways to spend your free time.
Because I am your alpha.
It was almost a roar.
You want to be f***ed by me. Do you understand?
I feel like some people believe that reading is inherently intellectual, which for me explains a lot of book talk drama, like the endless arguments about whether audiobooks should be included into your reading stats or the policing of what does and does not count as literature. There's this bizarre idea that being a prolific reader makes you superior somehow, so when someone cheats their way into that superiority by listening to audiobooks or preferring romance or erotica, a lot of people get really upset. But a book is just written text, it's a medium. Every medium has its sophisticated artwork and mainstream broadly appealing pieces and weird niche titles. Also, books might seem sophisticated now, but they've been blamed for fucking everything in the past, from corrupting the youths to giving people the wrong ideas to rotting people's brains. Ancient philosophers thought that the written word will make us all stupid, so...
You have not discovered a potion for remembering, but for reminding. You provide your students with the appearance of wisdom, not with its reality. Your invention will enable them to hear many things without being properly taught, and they will imagine that they have come to know much, while for the most part they will know nothing.
I recommend these two articles if you want to hear both sides of the debate on whether literacy is actually declining or if technology is simply changing our brains again.
Another important safeguard to the eye is the tear gland, which secretes the tear fluid. This is an effective germicide which drains through the tear ducts into the nose after flushing and cleaning the entire eye surface.
People making money off of books is also nothing new. Actually, people used to make more money off of books, and it was a good thing. Many works we now consider immortal masterpieces were published by chapter in magazines and paid for per installment, chapter, page, even per word. Classic novels that were popular from the moment of first publication prompted explosions of cash grab copycats and parodies, especially prior to the invention of copyright laws. For most of human history, since the invention of the printing press, the best-selling writing was often lowbrow. Mass-market paperbacks, penny dreadfuls, bodice ripper romances, serialized crime novels, comic books and yellow papers and glossy magazines. And I want to believe that most of it wasn't slop, that whoever wrote them did derive some amount of pleasure from creating them. That may be naive of me, but I think that the world has never experienced a shortage of people who loved writing and wanted to do it full time. But of course, eventually industrialization and globalization and all those other zations occurred, and business became bigger and bigger. For one, there's simply way more people on the planet now, and the majority can read and pay for the text they are reading. At some points and some places, people also had a decent amount of time to spend on reading and not much else to do at home, on the bus, or in the line to the post office. And even now, despite the fact that leisure time is decreasing in some countries and technology is designed in a way to keep us on various apps, many people still read, and some read a lot. Millennials and Gen Z are frequent users of libraries, and book sales continue to increase slightly even though the 2020 spike has calmed down. In the age of workers being alienated from the things they actually make, art and creativity are putting up a pretty good fight. Look, I'm not a child, I know that most of the stuff we do in life is done because it needs to be done. Yes, alienation makes it worse, but any kind of work, including creative, has a decent component of drudgery and discomfort and unpleasant effort. Creative work is still work, and it has never consisted entirely of inspired, almost spiritual flow state engagement. So when you think about it, even with all the engagement tactics and commercialization pushed on us, it's kind of amazing that you can still make a living off of, for example, writing fiction. In some ways, we do have it worse than a few years ago. Average earnings of authors are declining, and the overall health of the publishing industry is not great, in my opinion, despite those aforementioned improving sales. But the fact that it is possible to write and publish independently on the internet and sustain yourself from that is progress. It is rare, but it is also much more accessible. So while the average earnings of authors are down, the overall amount of people who make any money writing is probably much higher than it was a couple decades ago. And for marginalized people who would have never been granted the opportunity to publish traditionally in the very recent past, it is definitely progress. No technological paradigm shift is without detriments. The internet, while I think we're all increasingly convinced that it was a mistake, human brains love to focus on negativity, so intuitively it makes sense, but the arguments in favor of that opinion are not hard to find. And while a lot of it is the fault of a handful of giant companies, just the fact that billions of people can now communicate with each other through a device that fits in our pockets is already a massive change in how everything in our world functions. If the barrier of entry to publishing a book is extremely low, then the barrier to scamming people is also extremely low. Low-effort, cash-grabbing books have been flooding Amazon pretty much since it was possible to self-publish on Amazon. And way before ChatGPT, the gig economy was already providing a method to industrialize the output of written text. Content farms are not just a YouTube thing.
The urban writers exist specifically because this grift needed a steady source of cheap writers. The numbers just don't work out if you have to pay writers $2,500 per book, which, as we've already pointed out, is still not great pay. Bringing this all back to the grift map, we've got the Mickelsons doing grift A, which is teaching you how to do grift B, which involves utilizing outfits like the urban writers who are themselves engaged in grift C, which is basically the whole of the gig economy. All of this is just trying to exploit the next person down the chain. Readers and actual creatives, the people who actually make stuff, are just gristle to be churned through.
Now, this is an example of a highly scammy strategy in which book sales are not even the ultimate goal. Mostly, to make a lot of money off of books, you first need a decently sized audience and a niche in which you at least sound competent. Once you have it, yeah, you can hire ghostwriters to pump out books for you and make decent profits off of it. You can also do it in a less scammy, but still somewhat dishonest way with fiction. If you have some startup capital, or you get lucky and gain an audience through actual work, you can establish a brand and publish a book every few weeks, once again by hiring ghostwriters. This is also not exclusive to the internet. Many famous authors who initially got famous organically would later capitalize on their brand recognition and outsource the actual writing to other people. Is it really so bad if people still read those books and enjoy them? I don't think so, but it still feels off. I would prefer if they would just put the name of the actual writer next to the intellectual property owner. I've read a lot of Doctor Who books that are essentially professional fanfiction written by various authors, and plenty of those books are amazing. Again, I'm not saying that every piece of art is this pure, artistic masterpiece that is created only for the sake of passion and self-expression, but to borrow the McDonald's metaphor again, I would prefer to eat in a place where the cooks enjoy the process at least a little and are not pressured into something they hate by the threat of starvation. In an ideal world. And yeah, clearly AI has put this whole issue on steroids. I don't pick books to read by browsing Amazon. Actually, I try to buy my ebooks anywhere but Amazon, but I've been told that people are drowning in AI slop, especially in the most commercially successful categories. A book written by someone forced to do ghostwriting at ridiculously low rates is already bad enough, but at least they did get paid. Using ChatGPT provides free training for the company and becomes another blip in the data that they use to justify another massive investment, swiftly followed by another massive data center. Meanwhile, the people whose art was fed into the machine without their permission never see a cent of compensation. Also, nothing before AI could flood the internet with slop on such a gargantuan scale. We were already living in a world where hundreds of thousands of books were being published every single year. We were already struggling with option overwhelm and decision fatigue. Now you can't even trust a big publisher to pay an actual human to create the book cover, and your recommendations are just full of garbage. And if no one thought this was good enough to write, why would I read it? And it's not like the publishing industry wasn't going to hell already, years before AI became mainstream.
The second layer is called the choroid. It consists of 3 different belts or zones. The first zone is called the choroid proper, and is the part that carries nourishment to the tissues of the eye.
I know that I'm stating something incredibly obvious, but book publishing is first and foremost a business. Its primary goal is to make money, and the more we instrumentalize everything, the more we put focus on the profit model and the constant need for growth, the more it will move in the exact same direction as every other business. It's even worse, actually, because book publishing is more unpredictable than a lot of other businesses. Big 5 CEOs have publicly admitted that a significant part of their job is throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And the combination of that randomness and the drive for expansion and short-term success creates some truly bizarre outcomes. Another thing about book publishing that is relevant to this discussion is that presses lose money on a lot of books they publish. Getting a book from a manuscript submission to bookstore shelves is a process that takes multiple years and requires a lot of labor. Paper is expensive too, which is why books are getting more expensive as well. And every time a publishing house takes a chance on a debut, they never know if it will sell 1,000 copies or 1,000,000. It's a typical high-risk, high-reward environment. Presses go out of business all the time, or are acquired by the big players who are increasingly monopolizing the market. There are currently just 5 major publishing houses in the United States that control over 80% of the market. It would have been 4, by the way, but the merger was blocked. And like most companies, the bigger they get, the more mergers and acquisitions happen, the more risk-averse they become. Publishing is doing what every other company is doing, focusing on short-term profit and growth instead of stability and quality. In their case, it means relying on famous authors and old IP to secure their gains. And while they are constantly on the lookout for the next big thing, they are less and less willing to invest into debut or mid-list authors, hoping that luck and algorithms will do their job for them. And yes, again, some things are getting better. People still read books and buy books, mostly physical books too. Marginalized people are getting more opportunities to work in publishing or get published. But overall, author salaries have dropped, conditions for publishing staff have gotten worse, and by some accounts the quality of the books is slipping as well. Self-pub and independent presses are offering a different path, but it shares plenty of similarities with traditional publishing. Whether or not you pay for your own editing and covers, you are expected to carry the bulk of the marketing and maintain an online presence. The modern world is exerting very similar pressures on all authors. Create more, post more, sell yourself as a brand rather than your creations, comply with Amazon's rules and whims, and definitely do not be too weird or too controversial or too opposed to the status quo, or the algorithm gods will bury you under a kiloton of slop. The days of reclusive weirdos who write from their garden sheds and appeared in public every 3 to 5 business years are over. If you want to be a professional writer, you also need to be an influencer.
Thus, light rays entering the eye must pass in succession through first the cornea, second the aqueous humor, third the pupil, fourth the crystalline lens, and fifth the vitreous humor in order to reach their destination, the retina.
Listen, I know that being broadly appealing and palatable will always lead to more success simply because the more unique something is, the fewer people will like it. Things with massive international audiences are common denominator stuff. It's pizza, it's football, it's cute children's cartoons and Marvel movies. None of those things are bad or lowbrow or undeserving of attention. I love pizza and I used to enjoy Marvel movies. Hell, I even have a pop song or two in my playlists.
Anything for you, Beyonce!
Not everything needs to be a hyper niche, once in a lifetime experience. Sometimes I just wanna have fun. But if everyone likes it, no one loves it. Works that resonate with me, that stay with me for years and shape me as a person, are, for the most part, pretty damn unique. I don't recommend them to everyone, I don't even always think they are quote-unquote good. But someone's worst nightmare of a book is often another person's masterpiece. That's why I always look at one-star reviews first. If someone is complaining about a book being too confusing or too queer or too focused on characters, I know I will probably like it. Slop happens because it is broadly appealing and easy to make and is carried further by the algorithm. It can also happen because of decision fatigue caused by too many choices. I recently posted a piece on Substack that, among other things, discusses how having fewer choices can make us happier. So appealing to the common denominator can help, because it makes you feel like you aren't missing out or taking risks. We all wish we had more time, and committing to something strange and unique could be daunting. What if I will buy this obscure book or video game and don't like it at all? Guess I'd rather get back on TikTok for a bit. On TikTok, every individual video is short, it's low commitment, and it's picked by you from an endless stream. If you don't like it, you can instantly move on to something else, no time and energy wasted. And you never know if the next video will be like the best thing ever, so you have to check. The overwhelm doesn't just come from endless choices, it also comes from general fatigue. The pace of life is so fast these days, it can take active effort to slow the fuck down. I constantly feel like I'm running out of time to cram achievements and experiences and happiness into my life. Sometimes when I'm reading a book, I will zone out and start thinking about a different book that I want to read. We are under so much pressure to be everything everywhere all at once that even a choice of what movie to watch on the weekend can be just too much. Appreciating art does not sound very appealing when you feel trapped in a race against time, other people, and yourself in every activity you engage in. And it's not like your whole media diet needs to be comprised of challenging and unique art. Vertical shows, well, they're just fast fashion soap operas, so maybe you need to find a really good one instead. Soap operas are great, there's nothing wrong with enjoying them, and actually enjoying them, not hate watching or doing it ironically or whatever. You can sincerely love soap operas, and it doesn't mean that your taste in TV shows is bad. And if you don't like them, then it's just not your genre, that's fine too. Really, there is no genre or medium or type of art that is inherently bad. Every category has its benefits and its drawbacks, it's all about how the medium is used. In the literacy article I mentioned earlier, the author argues that it is the technology that disrupts our attention, not any specific kind of media, not even short-form video. The difference between TikTok and daytime soaps is that the soap doesn't stay in your pocket, send you notifications every 3 seconds, and demand microtransactions for every 5 minutes of the plot you want to experience. TV channels aren't paid per click or per minute you spend on them, so they operate with different incentives. And it is possible to find complex, thoughtful videos on platforms like TikTok. I go on TikTok every now and then to decompress and watch some silly videos, but I often end up watching 10-minute long mini video essays or academic discussions instead. On every social media, you can create a better experience for yourself, even though some websites make it harder than others. Get back on Tumblr, honestly, it is now kind of better than everything else simply because no one cares about it, so no one bothered to shitify it. My hope for the media landscape is not that everyone will disconnect and switch back to CDs and DVDs. I like reading from my phone and watching YouTube and sending memes to my friends. And you know what? I don't have space for DVDs in my tiny apartment. I can't even fit a tenth of my books in this place. Instead, I want an independent, decentralized internet with proper search functions. I want to be able to find books the way I can search for fanfics on AO3, and I want to write complex queries with Boolean logic when looking for a new video game. Is that really so much to ask? Actually, my best friend is in the process of creating a website that allows you to categorize books with very precise tags and then search for specific combinations. It's very early in development because he's working on it while doing a full-time degree and preparing for grad school, but I think it looks great already. If you are interested in the project, some contact info will be in the video description. In conclusion, I don't think AI slop is a new and unique problem, but an upscaled version of an existing technological problem. If the incentives of social media websites and their users would change, the media landscape would also change. Like, really, no one is getting zombified by Instagram Reels. Our taste or attention spans are not getting drastically worse from the mere existence of short-form video, and you do not need to cut your internet wires. But I do think we need better apps and better algorithms and better websites. Better start learning HTML and CSS now, I guess.
Alright, and then I'm gonna copy and paste this giant chunk of code. What this does is it makes your computer do stuff. Put that in your program and then compile and execute it, and there we go, we've created Minecraft.
And yeah, we need overall changes to the culture as a whole and a move away from constant growth and short-term profit. This is not an abolish capitalism statement either, though I do want to abolish capitalism, but rent-seeking behavior and monopolization are not good things in a capitalistic system either. They undermine the market and actively make things worse. We don't need to agree on economic systems to unequivocally state that whatever Google and Disney and OpenAI are doing, it's really not good for anyone other than their CEOs and shareholders. It's in everyone's best interest to break those monopolies up and bring genuine competition back. Or we will end up drowning in endless videos of those ugly AI-generated fruits breaking up or whatever. Like, what even are those? I don't even want to know. Don't tell me. Also, if anyone knows of any media that features a cursed IKEA setting that is not one of these things, please tell me about it. It's my favorite hyper-niche genre, and I crave a possessed Poang chase scene so bad. Actually, I'm just gonna go scroll through Reddit again, I guess. Okay, bye.